I hate divorce, but I love you more, God. We have the author here with us, kicking it with Brother Smalls, Jennifer Mott. So happy that you're here. How you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you. Excited to be here.
Wow, no, it's good to have you here. Now, this book is fascinating. I read this book in a day, and it took 2 days, but it could have been one day. It was just, once I picked it up, I didn't want to put it down. Is this your first book?
Yes, it's my first book.
First book. I said first book because we're believing more books, right?
Amen.
That's all right.
Absolutely believing in more books.
More books, right? Well, again, I hate divorce, but I love you more, God. Tell us about the book.
So I hate divorce, but I love you more. It's really about my process.
Yeah.
It has so many themes, but it's really the process that God took me through. After separation and divorce, He kind of took me on a ride.
Yeah.
Where I was able to see, my past, and how that brought me to where I was at that moment. Mm-hmm. And really, when I say He really took me through, it was a process, especially when things are unexpected, when things happen in our lives that are so unexpected,
Yeah, one of the things that I really enjoyed about the book was that it was so real and raw. You journal, and a lot of your journals are in the book.
Yes.
Just fascinating. The way you kind of take us from each aspect of what you were going through during that time. I have a couple of questions related to the book and some of the things that you kind of learned through the process. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I thought about, and actually one of the things that you'll notice with this book is kind of used up. I have it's written. I got notes in this thing. It's just amazing. But let's just start with silence is a weapon and a tool of the enemy.
Yes, silence is a weapon.
Yeah.
Growing up in a Christian home, Christian environment, being a devout Christian, I felt like not that I was told not to share my struggles, but there was a voice inside of me that told me, you're the only one that's struggling, and you better not tell anyone that you're struggling, because then you're not really a Christian, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think for many of us, that lack of transparency with others, with yourself, with God is definitely a deadly weapon. I'll tell you this much: the minute I became transparent with the Lord, with myself, mm-hmm. And even with other women, I experienced a certain type of breakthrough.
Now, that silence was heightened because of your special situation. I mean, you can kind of, you can kind of explain what your special situation was?
So I was not, just a devout Christian, but I was part of the pastor's family. And it was very difficult. I think it was definitely a special Circumstance that heightened the intensity mm-hmm. of it all during my marriage, and also after. It was just different, and I felt very alone because I didn't know of people who had experienced that same path,
thing.
Right? Yeah.
I thought about the expectations. Not only because, again, you said you're a part of the pastor's family, and so there was a lot of expectations that you may have felt that were placed upon you, and then the expectations that you placed upon yourself.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. Overall, even though those expectations may not be verbally placed on you, I think inwardly I felt, no, I have to set the example. I can't disappoint. I was so focused on not disappointing people and my family, who I love dearly, mm-hmm. That I almost lost the sight of even thinking that, am I disappointing God? Like, they were first. My family was first, the church. What are they going to say? That is what I had to deal with. And then later on, it's just like, wait, what is God saying? right?
Yeah.
And that took, I got lost a little bit in that, right?
Sure. That reminds me of a passage in the book where you talk about your desire for your marriage to the extent of, you were willing to lose everything.
Yeah.
You were ready to kind of put your goals, your dreams, tell us about that.
So I think that's the thing. Like I wanted my marriage to work so badly. And I write in the book, that I was willing, to put my purpose, put my goals, put who I was as a person, who I was, the woman of God, the woman that God was calling me to be. I was willing to put that to the side because I wanted this to work so badly. And I think part of me felt because I didn't want to disappoint people. And that I was stuck there for a little bit. Yeah.
You talk about you were alone.
Yeah.
And talk about necessarily being alone. Well, you're married. How can you be alone and you're in a relationship?
I think it's something actually very common.
Yep.
You can be in a relationship and, and this goes beyond marriage. This could be just a relationship with your own parents.
Yes.
Where you can live in the same house and still have no relationship, still have that sense of disconnect and that loneliness.
Right.
So it's more than just being present physically.
Sure.
Like there's an embodiment that has to happen.
There's an embodiment that has to happen, and it actually speaks to something that you were talking about regarding your example and having an example. What was the impact of not having the example of a healthy relationship?
Right. I think the impact of not having an example for having a healthy marriage, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I didn't know what were the standards or expectations. I didn't know how it was supposed to look like. I think it was later on, after, years into my marriage, where I was blessed to see amazing godly marriages. Not perfect, because no marriage is perfect. Not perfect.
No.
But amazing, godly, fruitful marriages is when I had an aha moment, and I speak about that in the book.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a second, something's a little off here. Yeah.
Wow. And, being able to, you also mentioned just having that example, but you don't necessarily get through a situation like this alone. The impact of having healthy examples before you, and then also having people that you can express your feelings to. Or who's going to be able to give you really honest feedback or love you in the midst of you not being perfect.
Right.
Did you find that during this process?
So I definitely found people who were supportive and that loved me through the process. Those people are still very present in my life. And then God just really, placed certain people to help me with other things. And I write that in my book, the struggle of being a single mom now with, a part-time job. That was my current situation back then. And not only did God provided people for me, to be there, emotionally and spiritually, but even financially. People that, to me, they're like angels. I call them angels because, they were there for that specific season and then they were gone, but they served their purpose.
Sure.
And I will never forget.
Wow.
5 years later, I can still name the people that blessed me with groceries,
yes.
blessed me with clothes. It was just countless of people that God sent my way.
What did that do to your faith?
My faith has never been at the level that It's been now because of what I went through.
Right.
Like, I believe God for the impossible. Do I have my moments? Of course I do. You know, anyone has their moments, but I truly believe that, you know, there is a God. Like, this process, I always knew there was a God, but there's something different in me when it's like I know God and I felt God for myself and I saw God for myself through this process. And not only me, but I truly believe my children have experienced that too because of this.
Wow. And I think we've all experienced it because you are different and you know, and you have a different look and a different talk and a different walk. You speak about reintroducing yourself after kind of going through the process and the process of reintroducing yourself.
Right. So the process of reintroducing yourself really is almost towards the end of your healing, because that's the first thing you got to do is enter that healing process. After after you go through that healing process where God is dealing with you and really clearing out those wounds, and you're taking that mirror and you're really looking at the state of your brokenness and understanding that only God can repair you, only God can fill you. You can reintroduce yourself.
Gotcha. So was that the turning point? Was the turning point, I mean, I know you mentioned about aha moments, but what was the turning point? Because you employed various different strategy, right? To save the marriage, to reconcile, to do different things. When did it shift? When did it shift for you?
So it shifted when I decided, I mean, I was so desperate. I tried everything. I Googled. I bought every marriage book that I can find. And it got to the point where it's just like, okay, I need to fast. And I remember going on a 21-day fast. It's probably the only fast I've ever done for 21 days.
Yeah.
And I had to shut every voice down. I wasn't going to ask anyone's opinion. I just wanted to hear from God, directly, because at that moment, everyone's opinion, even though they all had good intentions, I just wanted to do what God wanted me to do. Being in His will, still till this very day, is the most important thing in my life, is to be in His will. And after that fast, the Lord spoke quickly. And I still waited because I'm like, no, maybe it's my flesh talking, you know? Like, why would even God tell me He's releasing me, you know? Like, does that make sense? Because it doesn't make sense sometimes, right? That's when the shift happened. Now my focus had to change because it wasn't about me saving my marriage. It was, okay, God, you're releasing me. Now what I'm going to do? What am I going to do now? What's the next step? And it was like, it's about you, Jen. It's about you. It's your time. And that's when the healing process began. That's when all my energy, all my attention, you know, even though it was difficult, and I write that in the book, you know, I was pregnant with my son. You know, even after giving birth to him, I still had to create time to be in the face of God, pour out, you know, my heart, because I wanted to be healed. And the desperation to be healed trumped anything.
You wanted to be healed.
Yeah. I needed to.
Yes.
And I was desperate to be healed. I was tired of walking broken. Tired of walking with low self-esteem. Tired of it. Yeah.
Well, that's good stuff. You guys, you have to get the book. I hate divorce, but I love you more. God. Jen, how do people get the book?
So people can get the book through my website. I have a personal website. It's called jensbookshelf.com. Jensbookshelf.com.
Okay, jensbookshelf.com. We'll provide that link for people so they can readily get your book. We definitely, you know, a lot of other things that I wanted to talk to you about. What was did the power, you talk about the power of forgiveness, or that's one of the things that I kind of thought about with the book. What did what was the role of forgiveness in your healing?
The role of forgiveness in my healing was the door that opened the opportunity to my healing. You can't begin to heal if you haven't forgiven those that have hurt you and yourself. Because I had a lot of forgiving to do for my own self.
In what respect?
You know, a lot of the things, you know, I speak about, you know, my emotional affairs in my book. You know, and I speak very candidly about it because I feel like if we're going to be honest and we're going to heal and we're going to grow, we have to be completely transparent.
Yeah.
And a lot of that, I felt a lot of condemnation for many years. I felt like I wasn't good enough, that how can God use me if I messed up so badly, you know, and didn't represent him in such a way. So I had to forgive myself for my own mistakes, for my own choices, for my, you know, quote unquote regrets, right? I had to start there. So it was not only about forgiving others, but I had to forgive myself.
Got it. And that again unlocked the door that provided an opportunity for your healing. Well, you know, I truly believe that your story will impact many lives. It impacted my life. You know, I've learned so much. I know that if people get the book, they'll be able to get some really great tools to help them see themselves in a different light. You know, and I so appreciate you being real. You didn't have to do this. You didn't have to. I mean, you know, you could have.
I didn't want to do it. Let's just let's set
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Let's be clear on that.
Okay.
I did not want to do this book.
Okay.
But God told me to do it.
God told you to do it.
I was writing a Christian woman's devotional book. I did not want to write this book, but you know, like I've said before, when God calls you to do something, you have to obey.
Yeah, I mean,
You have to obey.
God told you to write this book. It's a phenomenal book. You guys have to go get it. I Hate Divorce, But I Love You More, God, by Jennifer Mott. It's been a pleasure. You know, it's been a pleasure having you here, kicking it with Brother Smalls. You know, I have to ask you because, again, this is a series and you're going to have more books. Will you come back on the show?
Absolutely, I would love to.
Okay, wonderful. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. Now, I would shake your hand, but we're going to do like one
I know
of
we're
those.
going to do the dab. Okay.
Bless you, sis.
Thank you.
All right. Bye now.
Informs, uplifts, and elevates, and inspires, takes you higher. Say it again.